Part 1. The Village at the Edge of the Forest. This story takes place in a small village at the foot of a hill, surrounded by a dense forest that the local villagers call the Forbidden Forest. Not just a name. For decades, villagers have avoided that forest after dark. Not merely because of ghost stories, but because at least 7 people have been recorded missing there over the past 3 decades, and only 3 were ever found. The rest never came back, and villagers stopped searching after a few days because they knew that past a certain point, the forest would never return what it had already taken. Every parent in that village, generation after generation, always gave their children the same warning. Even after they grew into adults, never go into that forest alone, especially once it gets dark. If you hear a voice calling your name from in there, never answer it. Radit, a 19-year-old young man, had heard that warning 1,000 times since childhood. But like most people his age who felt grown enough to no longer fear folktales, the warning only felt like a childhood story. Until that night came, and he realized every word of that warning was the truth. That afternoon, Radit had just left his grandmother's house at the edge of the village, near the forest border, after helping fix a leaking roof. He rode out alone on his motorbike, planning to get home before sunset, but the work ran later than expected. And by the time he finally set off home, his bike broke down right in the middle of the road, right near the mouth of the trail leading into the forest. He had already tried calling his father, but there was almost no signal in that area. With a bike that couldn't be pushed any further because its tire was badly flat, and the sky starting to darken, Radit decided to take a shortcut. A small trail on the edge of the forest that villagers usually use to gather firewood during the day. He'd leave his bike at the nearest villager's house until tomorrow morning. Just 10 minutes on foot, tops, he thought, trying to reassure himself. He didn't know the sun would set far faster than he expected, and he didn't know that something inside that forest had already been waiting a long time for its next prey. Part 2. The Path That Didn't Want to Be Found. The sun was starting to go down as Radit entered the trail. At first, everything felt ordinary. Birdsong, the sound of dry leaves crunching under his shoes. But the deeper he walked, the more something felt wrong. The birdsong stopped at once, as if a switch had been flipped. Not gradually, not slowly, just stopped, completely. The trail that was usually straight and clear now split into a fork he had never seen before. Even though he'd walked this path dozens of times since childhood, Radit took the right path, certain it led toward the village. He was wrong, and the forest knew he would be wrong. Half an hour of walking, and the trees grew denser and denser, as if deliberately closing in to seal off any way out. The sky above him shifted from orange to deep purple, then to pitch black. Far faster than it should have, as if the night itself were in a hurry to come claim him. Radit turned on his phone's flashlight. That small light became his only defense against a darkness that was starting to feel alive, watching. "Damn it, I took the wrong path," he muttered, trying to calm himself even as his voice shook. He tried retracing his steps, but every tree around him looked identical, as if someone or something had rearranged the entire forest just to trap him. Then he heard something calling, "Radit." The voice came from the left, faint, like his mother's voice. Radit almost turned to answer, before remembering his grandmother's warning from that very afternoon, said half jokingly, but now feeling far more serious. If you hear a voice calling your name from the forest, never answer it. He clamped his own hand over his mouth, his heart pounding. The voice called again, this time closer, more desperate, trying its own way to lure him to turn around. And it was then, from a different direction, that he heard another sound. Footsteps, heavy, steady, getting closer. Part 3. The Faceless Figure. Radit froze. He aimed his trembling phone light toward the source of the sound, hoping to find nothing more than a wild boar. What he saw was far worse than his worst nightmare. Between the gap of two large trees stood a figure far taller than any grown man. Perhaps 3 meters, perhaps more. Hard to tell because its shape seemed to stretch and shrink at will. Its body was thin, too thin, wrapped in a neat black suit that looked strange in the middle of the forest. And its head, blank, pale. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Yet Radit could feel its gaze, sharp, hungry, having waited for him ever since he first took the wrong turn at that fork. The figure began to move, not walking, but gliding with wrong, jerking movements, like a video being forcibly skipped, its speed increasing by the second. From its back, something resembling long black arms began stretching out from behind its suit, moving like tentacles, reaching in every direction. "Run!" Radit's instinct screamed. He turned and ran with all his strength, not caring which direction, only that it be away. Branches scratched his skin. Tree roots nearly tripped him, his breath ragged, but fear forced his legs to keep moving. Behind him, the heavy footsteps sounded tireless, because indeed the figure may not have been breathing at all. Radit glanced back for a split second, a mistake that nearly cost him his life. His foot caught on a large root, his body slammed into the ground. His phone flew out of his hand, hit a rock, its screen cracking and going dark. Total darkness swallowed him. He could hear the footsteps stop right behind him, too close. He could feel a piercing cold crawling up from the ground into his entire body, as if something were draining the warmth from his skin. Radit turned his body over, trembling, staring into the darkness where the figure stood. Even with no light, he could sense the tall shadow looming directly above him, its long black arms slowly rising, ready to seize him. He could hear a voice, not from a mouth, since the figure had none, but as if it were surging directly into his mind. A long hiss, wordless, yet he understood its meaning clearly. "You are mine now." "Help," Radit whispered, his voice nearly lost, swallowed by his own terror. "Anyone, help me." Part 4. Green light from the darkness. Right as the black arm was about to touch his face, something unexpected happened. From behind the trees on the left side, a pale green light burst out, blazing bright instantly, forcing the darkness to retreat for the first time that night. The faceless figure stopped completely. The arms that had been stretching out shrank back behind its suit, and its entire body seemed to shudder, as if something that had always held power was now suddenly facing something it feared far more. From within that light, a figure stepped out with a distinctive hopping motion, wrapped in a white burial shroud from head to toe, bound with the characteristic rope at its neck and lower body. Radit, still on the ground, instinctively recoiled in fear, now caught between two nightmares at once. But the pochong didn't move toward him. It leapt forward, straight at the faceless figure, and the sound that came from it was no longer gentle. It was a long roar, shaking the air, making the leaves around them tremble violently, as if struck by an unseen gale. The tall figure retreated, its body flickering like a broken signal, before finally fleeing, tearing through the darkness of the trees at an unnatural speed, as if being forcibly pulled away by something stronger than itself. Silence. Only the sound of Radit's ragged breathing and the faint hiss of the green light slowly dimming around the pochong. Radit stared at it, his body still frozen, waiting for the next round of terror. Part 5. A voice from behind the white cloth. The pochong floated closer slowly, carefully, as if not wanting to add to the fear already eating away at the young man. Then a voice was heard, hoarse, quiet, yet with something strange in it, as if speaking from somewhere very far away, very deep, very old. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you." Raditz stammered, unable to say anything. His breathing still ragged, cold sweat soaking his face. "You're lost, aren't you?" the voice asked again. "I know how it feels. Once I got lost in this forest too. I wasn't much older than you are now, alone. Afraid." Who are you?" Raditz whispered. "Why are you helping me?" There was a long pause. The green light around it flickered slowly, like a held breath. "I used to be from this village too. One night I got lost here, alone, and no one came to help me." The voice fell silent for a moment, and in that silence, Raditz could swear he heard a stifled sob from behind the white cloth before it finally continued speaking. "That thing that chased you earlier has been roaming this forest for a long time, hunting anyone who gets lost alone, calling their names, luring them deeper until they can never find their way back. I know because I nearly became one of them." Raditz swallowed hard. "Nearly? I never made it back," the voice answered, flat, honest, without excessive emotion. And it was precisely because of that it sounded far more chilling. "But I promised myself if I ever got the chance, I wouldn't let anyone else go through what I went through. So I stayed here, watching, waiting." Silence for a moment. The night wind blew, carrying the scent of wet soil mixed with something older, colder. "Can you take me home?" Raditz asked, his voice barely audible. "Of course," the pochong answered, "but we have to hurry. It won't give up that easily, and the night is still long." Part 6. Leading out of the darkness. The pochong floated ahead, its soft green light illuminating a trail that suddenly appeared before them, a path that, Raditz was certain, hadn't been there seconds before. "Follow the light, don't fall behind, and whatever happens, whatever you hear from the darkness around you, don't look back," it said firmly. "This forest doesn't like losing its prey." Raditz got up, walking quickly to follow the figure. Along the way, he heard strange sounds from behind the trees, whispers calling his name in various different voices. Sometimes his mother's voice, sometimes his father's, sometimes his friends, sometimes voices he didn't recognize at all, yet that sounded as if they knew exactly who he was. Several times, Raditz sensed something moving quickly behind the trees on their right, running parallel to their footsteps, as if waiting for one careless moment to strike again. "Don't look," the pochong repeated, its voice now sounding more alert. Almost there. Slowly, the trees began to thin out. In the distance, points of yellow light became visible. The lights of the villagers' homes. "That's our village," Raditz exclaimed, almost crying with relief. But right at that moment, the calling voice sounded again, this time right behind Raditz's neck, as close as possible without touching, a voice perfectly mimicking his mother's, calling his name with a forced, desperate tone. Raditz nearly turned around. The pochong now blocked him by leaping forward and slamming its body directly into his. "Don't!" the pochong hissed sharply. "That's not your mother. Keep walking." They ran the last few steps, and right as Raditz's foot touched the dirt road outside the forest edge, the calling voice stopped abruptly, replaced by a long roar echoing deep within the forest, full of rage, full of frustration at losing its prey. Part 7. what remained in the forest. Raditz stood panting at the forest's edge, his body still shaking violently. He turned to face the figure who had saved him. "Thank you. Thank you for helping me," he said, his voice breaking. "Go on," the Pochong answered. "Your family must be worried sick looking for you." From the distance, his mother's voice began to sound, calling his name in panic, followed by his father's voice and several neighbors. Radit ran toward the sound, but before fully stepping out of the forest shadow, he turned back once more. The white-clad figure still stood there, right at the forest's edge, not stepping any further, as if something held it back, keeping it from ever truly leaving that place. For a split second, the green light around it dimmed, and Radit caught a glimpse, just a glimpse, of the cloth over its face being lifted by the wind. He would never tell anyone what he saw behind that cloth that night. Before the figure slowly retreated, dissolving back into the darkness of the forest, which seemed to pull it back in, reluctant to let it go even for a moment. "Radit!" His mother ran toward him, hugging him tightly while crying, followed by his father and several villagers who had joined the night search. Radit hugged her back tightly, his body still shaking. Yet his eyes remained fixed on the forest behind him, on the darkness that now felt like it was watching from afar, waiting. When asked what had happened, Radit could only mutter, "Something helped me, but something else is still there, waiting." No one truly believed his story that night. Closing. The villagers stopped asking further questions after a few days, as they always did whenever someone came back from the forbidden forest with a story that made no sense. But one thing changed since that night. Radit never again wanted to sleep with his bedroom light off. His broken-down bike was never retrieved. He chose to leave it there, unable to bring himself near the mouth of that trail again. And whenever he was forced to pass near the forest's edge in the late afternoon, he swore he could hear a voice calling his name from the distance, soft, patient, as if it knew that someday he would let his guard down and turn around. To this day, the forbidden forest still stands at the foot of the same hill. And to this day, the villagers still warn everyone, young and old alike, never go in alone, never answer a call from the darkness. And if one night you hear heavy footsteps approaching while your light goes out, pray that whatever comes to meet you isn't the faceless one.